Los Angeles, I'm in most Hollywood nights. She comes to California, oh, California.
What you say about Los Angeles?
LA got the people saying,
You're listening to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. Welcome to Corner of the Galaxy, the show that talks 100% LA Galaxy soccer. We're glad you could join us. Now it's time to sit back and relax as your hosts navigate through the twisting, turning, but never boring world of the five-time MLS Cup champion, LA Galaxy.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com, coming to you live on a Thursday night ahead of the first El Trafico of 2021. I'm your host, Josh Guesman. We have a great show coming up for you in just a bit. In just mere moments, we're going to be joined by LA Galaxy midfielder Victor Vazquez. He's going to be calling in and talking a little El Trafico, talking about being back to MLS. So we're going to have him call in as long as our technology holds up a little bit here. We're also going to get you through some LA Galaxy 2 and their mini El Trafico they played last night. We have a bunch of LA Galaxy news and, of course, previewing for the LA Galaxy's game against LAFC coming out the first El Trafico of 2021. To help me do all of that, she's back. We're glad to have her back. We're excited to have her back. It's Sophie the Cannon Nicolaou. Sophie, how's it going?
I am here, I am on deck, and I am ready. After a hellacious day of Arsenal Football Club, I'm so ready to just shift gears to El Trafico.
I know,
Josh.
I know it wasn't a good day for you. I apologize. I wish that your team would help you out a little bit more often there, Sophie, but we did that didn't happen.
It's a travesty. I'm over it. The season's done.
Yes.
At least I have MLS to look forward to for a few months. I think that's the savior here. So yeah, all good.
Okay, good. I'm glad you have an upbeat outlook on it, or at least you don't want to cry again on a podcast, right? That's really
no,
what it is.
no. I don't want to cry again, and I'm done talking about Arsenal. I think for a few days.
Absolutely, I can understand that. Let's talk about the LA Galaxy a little bit. I know we're expected to be joined by Victor Vazquez here in about 6 or 7 minutes. So as soon as that happens, we'll bring him into the show. But Sophie, we haven't talked to you in a little while. The LA Galaxy won their first 2 games. We saw that, and then they lose to Seattle. I mean, what's your take so far, the first 3 games of the season?
I was a little bit upset with Greg Vanney, to be honest with you, after the Seattle game. And I completely respect that he took accountability for the loss. But I never understand it when a coach has found a formula and there's positive results and then they change it. Mm-hmm. And I think it was too soon to change it for this particular LA Galaxy team. They had the confidence, they had a vibe. And I don't think that they don't have that anymore. But I think going from game to game for this team that struggled a lot last year, Josh, it felt like why try and change something when it's not broken yet?
Right.
And I thought it was a bit too bold, although I do like coaches to be bold and to have adaptability. But I think he took it a step too far.
I mean, for me, I'll say this, is that he's a guy who doesn't know his team very well yet, right? Only 3 games in, only 2 games before that. He's a guy who we know would like to do different things with the team depending on who they're playing against, right? And he's talked about, and we'll talk about the presser today, but he talked about the different styles that were presented in the first 3 games. He goes, every team that we played a different style sort of things. And so for me, I'm okay pressing the buttons now because he's going to eventually have to learn how to press the buttons later, right? Is there any good time to experiment?
I liken it to, Vinny, I told you, I've got my little dog here. He's actually napping on my lap.
Right.
And I said to Vinny, I'm not going to bring up Arsenal more than 3 times on the show.
Okay.
But here's the scoop. Mikel Arteta experimented in the Europa League semi-final last week.
Right.
And you could argue that that's the way that trend kicked off the two legs, it really hurt the team.
Right.
And I think Greg did the same against Seattle. You do not experiment against certain teams. You just set your team up the best way you can to go and win the game, or at least compete to get a point. And I think that, and I said Arteta was a little arrogant, and I said that Greg kind of had a little arrogance, but I also then heard what you guys were talking about in that, yes, he's learning this team, so he may kind of do these kind of things, but not against Seattle.
Okay.
It was almost like conceding and saying, let me see what they can do against this team, because I know we're going to lose anyway.
Right.
I'm not saying that's what he thought, because every coach thinks they're going to win a game, Josh, when they're going into it.
Right.
Just felt a little bit too experimental.
I can understand that, and for me I'll be very honest. I didn't expect the Galaxy to win that game. I know that they had all the confidence, but we saw the problems in the first couple of games. We saw we knew that there were issues. Right? You're happy with the wins. You take them 3-2, 3-2. You've given up 4 goals. You know that there's some defensive problems. There's some midfield problems. You're hopeful that the offense will be generated in a way that keeps it unpredictable. But whenever your guy scores 5 goals in the first 2 games, that's one of those things where you sit there and go, okay, well, clearly a team like a Seattle is going to be able to key off on that. And so,
Sorry, I was going to say, I think the good thing about this is that there's a coach who is adaptable, and LA Galaxy haven't had that in a long time. And there's going to be games where it's going to work out just fine as the season goes on.
Right.
I just didn't think it was a good idea to do it against this Seattle team, but against other teams in this league,
right.
I think, he's the kind of coach that can pull that off as the team grows into itself, as we head into, deeper into the season.
Well, Robert gave us a little $5 super chat. And by the way, if you want to ask a question for...
Wait, is it a fake British accent thing again?
No, everybody said it's Sophie from Dallas, by the way. That was whenever it came on. But Robert gave us a $5 super chat. Says, thank you for all you do, Galaxy Faithful. If you could trade Greg Vanney for Bruce Arena right now, would you do it? Sophie?
Oh, no. I wouldn't. I like Greg. I've loved everything about his style. I love how he handles himself in the presses. He has this authoritative thing that just comes across in an accessible way.
Right.
I don't know how that's going to evolve throughout the season, depending on what he gets from this team. But it's night and day, you guys. I think Josh and I talked about this in the last show as well. The presses are different. The questions, the answers, the honesty, the authenticity. I wouldn't. I love Bruce, and Bruce for me is the Sir Alex Ferguson of American soccer. But he can come back maybe in 3 years when he's bored after Greg's won a couple of championships.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think right now I might even pick Greg Vanney. I love Bruce Arena. I know there was a chance for Bruce Arena at one time to come back, and that didn't happen. So that's fine. I understand that. And instead now you have Greg Vanney, but you had to go searching in order to get Greg Vanney. So it was one of those things as well.
It's the best hire that this team could have wished for, because he's got the DNA, he's got the culture, but also is a young coach with really good ideas, Josh.
Right.
And, he seems to have command of this team and the players and their respect. And I think it's been a long time since LA Galaxy. I don't think LA Galaxy has had that since Bruce.
Yeah, it feels a little bit. I mean, I feel like they have some swagger now. I'm feeling that swagger.
That's a good word.
It's not misplaced swagger either. They don't think they're the best team in the world. They're not. No. They know it. And one of the things to point out certainly is that when you look at Seattle is, and despite the fact that MLS and all their talking heads keep wanting to say like Seattle is going to take a step backwards or Seattle's going to do something like this. However you look at it, Seattle was in the last MLS Cup, has been in multiple MLS Cups throughout the time. They are a contender. Chicharito said it today. Greg Vanney said it before. The last 5 to 7 years, Seattle is one of the best teams in Major League Soccer. And so even right now, even though, all that stuff has sort of gone off the wayside and people want to sort of discount Seattle, you can't do that. They are a contender for a cup this year. Absolutely 100%. So is Columbus. Despite the fact that neither of those teams get talked about very much in terms of being the best in Major League Soccer. And so going up to Seattle for me and getting beat was sort of a little rite of passage in this particular case. It was hard for Bruce Arena to go up and take care of Seattle whenever it came about too. So Yeah, for me, it's okay. Now, I don't want to interrupt too much here, Sophie, but I believe, and I'm hopeful that it did work correctly, and hopefully he's on the line here whenever I say it, but we should be joined right now by LA Galaxy midfielder Victor Vazquez. Victor, are you there? Hold on 1 second, Victor. Apparently, all of my timing and all the stuff here has not worked as expected. Sophie, you talk for a second.
I will talk to the gang, because about Seattle, there was a time where they were perennial losers as well, the Seattle Sounders, and they had to adapt their DNA and their culture. I mean, LA Galaxy's a 5-star team, and they've had that winning DNA and culture and lost it. So it's kind of, I think maybe I've likened it before where I've said it's like staying at the Four Seasons, and then you have to kind of stay, at the Howard Johnson down the street. It's just, it's a smack in the face, and it's a very difficult a way to adapt when you've been used to winning for so long. So LA Galaxy fans have every right to be asking and demanding for something better. And are we good?
I think so. Victor, can you hear us now?
Yes, I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. That was my fault. I didn't click the button to make things work, but we hear you great. You're on the show here. We're live with a whole bunch of LA Galaxy fans in the chat room as well. So thank you so much for taking the time to come on the show and call in, and especially ahead of a great El Trafico. I guess I'll start with a little bit is how are you feeling? We know you came out of the game against Seattle, maybe a little worse for wear. I wanted to know if you're feeling up to the game this Saturday.
Yeah, I'm feeling good. It was like I had some sore in the adductor. I feel like really tight. I'm taking care about myself pretty good, and we'll see for Saturday. But from until now, I'm feeling okay, and we will decide with Greg what we're gonna do. But I'm ready. I'm ready for it.
Well, Victor, I know, obviously you haven't played in the El Trafico, the LA Galaxy versus LAFC. I know that over your years in professional soccer, you have played in a lot of derby games. How do you feel normally the nights before, the big rivalry games? Is there, a special energy to it? Do you get excited? Do you get nervous? What's your mindset there?
Yeah, normally you get excited because it's a different game. Of course, it's 3 more points like usual. It's a normal game, but okay, like this kind of games, it's always special because of the rival that it's from the same city as is it here, and it's something special for me. Really, I don't get nervous. I'm really excited to play this kind of games. I love to play big games. I have many games on my career like this. I play in Belgium, like Bruges against Anderlecht. I play also in Mexico, Cruz Azul against America, all these kind of games. Then I think for all of us, it's a big game, but it's like 3 more points, It's more about the fans, about the supporters, that they feel much more like this rivalry. And I think we're going to feel that on the game because we are lucky that we play at home and we play for our supporters.
Sophie, what do you got for Victor?
Victor, you've had such an incredible impact already on this team, and you come with so much experience. You still feel like you look like a 20-year-old playing out there. It's incredible, your energy and your tenacity. Talk us through this a little bit, coming back to MLS and being reunited with Greg. And that you've made such a difference to the team already. You're like a general there in midfield. Talk us through that a little bit.
No, I try to do my job. You know me already from Toronto, and I think I'm trying to bring what you said, this experience, this different, maybe this different kind of way of playing that also Greg really likes, and I love it too, because I like to play with the ball. We like to have the ball. I think the first 2 games we show our identity. Of course, we are building up because it's a new project, it's a new team, a lot of new players that we have to adapt to each other. But we are doing great. I think the last game against Seattle, it's a game that sometimes it had to happen. To lose a game like this, also to bring the feet into the real world. and I'm trying to do my best always. I know Greg very well. He knows me very well, and I know a lot of players from the team that I can adapt pretty fast to them, and they can know me really fast too. And with Chicha, with Jonathan Dos Santos, with all these guys, it's gonna be really easy for me also to play this season and to have fun.
Victor, it seems like Greg gives you this role where you're able to find space where you can find it. It doesn't seem like maybe you have a certain defined role. Do you find that one, that's the case, that I've seen that correctly, and two is it almost seems like because you know Greg's system, it's the other guys sort of adapting around you, and you sort of being that stable sort of, I understand the system, follow me and I'll lead you. Does that sort of seem correct?
Yeah, it is actually. I know, like I say, I know Greg very well, and for me it's really easy to adapt because it's the same kind of way of playing and the system. For the new guys, of course, it's a new thing, and all of us, we have to adapt, and I have to adapt also to my teammates. But for me, my role is pretty easy. Greg gives me a lot of freedom. He knows that I'm a player, I'm a collective player, I always think about the team, I always think about my teammates. I'm not thinking just about myself. I try to play for the strikers, to always to try to help everyone, and that's the thing. I think that's why it's working really well. We have to continue like that because the season just started. But we have to be happy what we are doing until now because it's a new team, like I say, new players, new project, but we are doing great. We have 6 points of 9, and I think this weekend we have to go back to the winning way.
Yeah, Victor. The other thing I wanted to, we hear so much about the locker room and whether the locker room is a happy place, whether everybody's getting along. Just from the very beginning of this season, it feels different than it has in the last 3 or 4 seasons. Do you pick up on a good locker room? Is this a good locker room? Is this an okay locker room? Is this a happy place to go to work?
Yeah, this is not a happy place. It's an unbelievable place. I felt so good from the first minute, honestly. I know Greg also that he makes a really good impact on the team because the last season the guys were struggling so much. The club also the last few years they are not doing so good, and I think now we have the big project ahead, and also we have a big family inside the locker room and outside. All the guys, we are having fun. We come in the morning. We put already music in the morning, 9 a.m. We are having fun with all the physios, with all the people around the club. I think this atmosphere you can feel outside on the pitch, and that's why we are trying to build for all the season because this kind of culture, I think, when you are happy inside the locker room and with your teammates, and also outside of there, then on the field you make it happen.
Yep, absolutely. Sophie, what do you got?
I was going to say, I'm picturing some good dancers and some bad dancers right now, Josh, in that locker room with the music, Victor. But no, it's incredible because LA Galaxy is such a historical team in MLS, and I just wondered what it means for you to play for them. Just from, you're a footballer, you've played around the world. What does it mean for you to be playing for LA Galaxy in MLS?
Yeah, for me it was an amazing opportunity. Even if I'm 34 years old, I think this kind of chances you cannot let it go. And of course, for me, it was more easy because Greg was coming here with all his staff. I know them pretty well. But of course, if Greg wasn't coming here and the LA Galaxy called me, for sure I would come because of Jonathan Dos Santos, because of all the guys around here. I think it's an amazing place to be. And like you said, I think LA Galaxy is the best team in the history of the MLS. Of course, I play for Toronto. We make history with Toronto. It's the only team in the MLS history that we make the treble. We won everything. But if you look at the whole history, LA Galaxy for sure is the best team in MLS.
It's always interesting to hear that outside perspective. Victor, I'm going to give you a question from our chat room. This is Ben, and Ben says, are there any young players that you are excited to see develop over this season?
Yeah, of course. We have many now. I think they are working really hard. Also, they feel like I said before, the good atmosphere that we have in the team, in the locker room. And the guys like, for example, now Ethan Subak, he's doing pretty good. I think he has a lot of potential. He's working so hard every day. He's getting the chances, and he's showing that he's capable to be in the first 11. Also, Adam Saldana, he's doing so good. I think he has a lot of potential and a lot of technique. He's a super technique player that I love to play with on the midfielder. With Jonah and Adam, we are doing great job. And also a lot of guys. We have like, also I can tell you which is the Johnny that the other day he came after 70 minutes or I don't know. And he was doing also like he was playing since a long time ago. I think this kind of culture that we are creating on the team, on the club is going to be so good for the young guys because they won't feel this pressure now.
Right. No, it makes a lot of sense. Hey, Victor. All right, we're very glad you could join us. Thank you so much for stopping by. We want to wish you good luck on Saturday. Hopefully, we'll see you out on the field, and hopefully, we'll get you on the podcast here a little bit later in the year. All right.
Great stuff.
Okay. Thank you so much, guys.
All right, thanks, Victor. All right, there he goes, Mr. Victor Vazquez from the LA Galaxy, and thank you to Vicky Marcato for putting that all together for us and making that happen. If I would have clicked the button the first time the right way, it would have been smooth. But Victor's great. I mean,
he's so cool. I mean, how can you not heart him? He, the attitude, the professionalism, the application.
Yeah.
I love the question about the younger players and hearing him talk about that too, Josh. Just really good stuff.
Yeah, and by the way, the in and out, that's a cell phone. And whenever you have a cell phone and you cover the mic with your hand, that's what happens whenever it works.
Yeah.
So,
and Vicky's not with Victor probably now, so she, otherwise she could hear it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Victor actually called us directly.
Yeah.
So that was always fun. That's always fun too. Whenever that happens. So no, he was great. He's excellent, and we'll have him on a million times over. I promise. Anytime he can do it, we'll do it. But all right, Sophie, let's get to some of the news around and talk about some of the fun things that have happened in the last 24 hours or so. I don't know if you were paying attention, and I don't think there were. If you're a die-hard LA Galaxy fan, perhaps you knew that LA Galaxy 2 was playing against Las Vegas Lights. And most of the time, Sophie, I'm sure you, like me, probably a week ago, I was like, who cares? Nobody really cares about that game. It's a USL level game, which, by the way, I enjoy watching LA Galaxy 2, but I watch a lot of soccer, so it's not like high on my priority list to watch. But if you were paying attention, like most of the people who are listening to this podcast, I imagine, you would know that Las Vegas Lights is now an LAFC farm team, right? So LAFC, in fact, they do all their training in LA, and then they drive across the desert in order to play their games in Las Vegas. In order to do this stuff. It's a very weird sort of thing. And I know that there are some Las Vegas Lights fans who are not very happy about this whole thing because it was really, one is Las Vegas is definitely an LA Galaxy town. If you've ever been to Las Vegas, there are a bunch of amazing LA Galaxy fans who do watch parties in Las Vegas all the time. So that's one thing. And two is Las Vegas Lights had sort of this quirky, fun, team, and now they have a subsidiary of LAFC. And so it was this whole thing. So anyway, the mini El Trafico was held last night, Sophie. And somebody tried to make it was the El Traficito, I believe. I
like that. El Traficito, yeah.
Right?
Sounds like the Puppy Bowl.
Okay, sure. Well, I'll go with that. Absolutely. So anyway, so that was what happened. Galaxy 2 were playing, and Galaxy 2 under Junior Gonzalez are a good, fun team to watch. So I would tell you to definitely watch these games. They're on ESPN Plus. You can find them. Go watch them. We are actually going to start doing a monthly Galaxy 2 segment where we're going to have Christian Miles, who does the analyst side of things. I was going to say the reason why I knew that game was happening because of Christian's tweet. That's right. There you go.
Yeah. He's top shelf, Christian. He's a good guy. Yeah,
he's amazing. And so anyway, so Christian has decided has accepted basically to come on once a month, and we'll have him, and he'll talk Galaxy 2 and tell us what we're seeing, what we're not seeing, and the whole thing. But I wanted to bring this up because the predecessor, the precursor, the lead-in to El Trafico 2021 was this game, and it included 5 first-team players as well, and that's important to sort of take a look at because we want to see how some of these first-team players are going down to Galaxy 2 and where they're going. So Augie Williams, Kai Koreniak, Marcus Verkranis, Jonathan Perez and Justin Vomstig. And Jonathan Perez obviously was, I believe, who Victor was mentioning whenever he said Johnny as well. So this is who played in this game. Now, first half, 0-0. LA Galaxy 2 blew some chances. Probably could have scored some goals. But the second half, Sophie, the second half was a beautiful, beautiful thing. 5 unanswered goals for LA Galaxy 2. A 5-0 shutout win in the mini El Trafico to start off rivalry week itself. Total of 20 shots, 10 shots on goals, 5 goals. Kai Koreniak, Aguirre, Hernandez, Preston Judd got the 5th goal. There was an own goal by Las Vegas Lights as well. So on the whole, Sophie, a wonderful evening of LA versus LA soccer.
What happened at halftime? That's what I want to know.
So strange.
I want to know that. I want to know what the coach said.
Well,
I want to know what happened at halftime.
Junior fired him up. Whatever he said and whatever he did, he fired him up, and that's
impressive.
what happened. It was very impressive what they were able to do. They tired out Las Vegas, and you could see that. And to be fair, Las Vegas is a team that hasn't had a bunch of time yet with their new coach. I think 6 weeks, 7 weeks total, and all that stuff. So they're trying to put things together. They loaned, I think, 4 or 5 players down to this game as well. LAFC did, down to Las Vegas to play in this game. And it's just a matter of that team not quite being ready to play yet. But having said that, LA Galaxy 2 went out there, remained undefeated. They lost, no, they didn't remain undefeated. They lost their first game to Sacramento 1-0, and then the second game they win 5-0. So not too bad.
Do we know if does Greg watch these games? Does he get tape? Do you think?
I think he does. I bet he watches. I bet he watches them live. I'll be honest with you. Greg seems like the kind of he doesn't watch. He doesn't watch Ted Lasso. We know that, so he has plenty of time to watch some of these other things. Sophie.
I mean,
I thought that was a reason to get rid of him.
How is he not a diamond dog yet?
I don't know.
What's he waiting for?
I don't know.
Maybe we should get him a T-shirt.
I think we should.
A COG diamond dog kind of T-shirt.
We should figure something. Get him a goldfish maybe.
Yeah, induct him.
Yeah. But anyway, so the LA Galaxy 2 stuff.
I love that.
All very good. And by the way, if you're excited to see where the next series of players are coming for the LA Galaxy, Sophie, you have to watch Galaxy 2 because they play good soccer. They've been in the playoffs. Junior Gonzalez has everything really pressing in the right direction. And you have to imagine that some of these guys, not all, maybe 1 or 2, maybe 3, end up on the senior team. And we've seen that path get a little shorter in terms of LA Galaxy 2 to Galaxy. So some fun stuff. 5-0. That's a fun score.
Listen, when you come out in the second half and you score 5 goals, and especially after halftime, I love that. Strategically, collectively, whatever the coach said at halftime, that's massive. I know the other team are trying to find their way, but a win is a win, and you can only play who's in front of you. So all good stuff.
Absolutely. Herb, by the way, little super chat, actually a big super chat, $25.
Oh.
Yeah, I know. Herb's a big spender. He says, hands down, best Galaxy content. Shout out to Sophie. Plus, I like hearing my name on the podcast. There you go, Herb. It only costs you $25 in order to hear it.
How do you pronounce his last name? Arochi?
You say it as international as you want. I don't know. It could be anything.
Say Arochi.
Or
I'm
it's
going to guess.
Okay, guess. Go for it. I mean, Orochi sounds very Italian.
It could be Orochi because of the C and the H, But I'm going to go like with the Orochi, and he'll let us know, I'm sure. But what a donation. Wow, yeah, that's lovely.
That's amazing. Thank you, Herb. Appreciate that. Herb, I think you also ordered stuff from the Galaxy from our store today too, because I got a notification of the ship. I haven't checked it, but I'll have to check it tomorrow whenever I ship stuff out. But you can go to cornerofthegalaxy.com, click the shop button. We have stickers and stuff like that that you can go find that. So certainly go do that if you can. All right, past LA Galaxy 2 now. The LA Galaxy had a media call today, which was good because it's ahead of El Trafico. You want to find out all this information about the LA Galaxy and what is going to happen. You want updates on injuries. You want updates on Kevin Cabral. You want updates on all these things. And Galaxy fans, COGers, I am here to apologize. I apologize to you because your LA Galaxy beat reporters, They didn't do any of that today. They got you none of that information. It was a national media sort of scrum. Whenever you go with the El Trafico, you're going to get a lot more people paying attention. It's Carlos Vela versus Jonathan Dos Santos and Chicharito. That's going to attract attention. But not one of the beat reporters who got questions today asked about Kevin Cabral or asked about any of the injuries. And as you heard, we had to ask Victor Vazquez about his own injury, his groin injury. And I would say that right now, that seems questionable in terms of his answer there. So hopefully I'll be ready for Saturday is not I'm going to be there. Yay. And so we didn't get you any of that information. And that is a fundamental failure of our job. And Sophie, you weren't on the call, so you don't get blamed.
I wasn't. Because I should have been, because I was watching Arsenal and I know that was a complete waste of my time. So I wish I was on the call today, but I couldn't because I was covering the game for TalkSport and stuff. So yeah. So we don't blame you. So what happened? Like,
I mean, listen, there weren't bad questions. There were just some irrelevant questions overall. I mean, asking Greg Vanney, I thought was great. They asked him, Damian Calhoun asked really interesting question about, do you remember any of the times whenever you played for the LA Galaxy playing against San Jose? And Greg went and sort of said, I'm horrible at reflecting on myself because I never remember these games and the whole deal. But Greg did tell a story about how he was called up to Sacramento because basically his first year in the league, he was sort of back and forth between basically USL. It wasn't the USL, but USL and LA Galaxy,
right?
Back and forth. And so he got called up to Sacramento. He played a game. They got done playing that game and they called him and said, hey, you're needed down in San Jose because somebody got hurt. So you're going to have to play tonight. And so then I think he drove down from Sacramento down to San Jose, and then he came on in the 70th something minute, and he ended up scoring his first goal in his Galaxy career of that. And I think they ended up winning 2-1 over San Jose. So that was a fun thing to sort of.
Yeah, that's a nice anecdote.
Right. It's a fun, nice anecdote. I think that Greg sort of talked again about the loss in Seattle, which was, how are we going to learn? How are we going to progress? He talked about, just the different styles that people are playing. But I mean, he also said, absolutely 100% they're going out there to win the game on Saturday. It's a rivalry game. He's excited to be a part of it. He's watched them before. So, I mean, all of this stuff is good. And I will post all of the media call on Corner of the Galaxy's YouTube page whenever I get a chance to. It's just been a blinding afternoon so far. But for me, the biggest and most important part of all of this, Sophie, is to figure out, one, who's going to be available. And the big deal is that Kevin Cabral, which I think... Let's see. I didn't get to say.
Do you have a tracker on him? Do you have a tracker on
him? I
don't.
I was going to put one of those new Apple little tracker things that they have. We're going to just put that on Kevin so that we can find him. But no, he's in Los Angeles, by the way. And we have, and we told you that yesterday on our Twitter account and went through most of the social media. So people should know about Kevin Cabral being in Los Angeles. But here's what we don't know. We don't know when he got here. All right. We don't know how long his quarantine is. There is a possibility, a small one, infinitesimal, that he could be available to play on Saturday. I don't think that's the case, but we don't know the answer to that question, and so it would have been.
Nobody asked that? Nobody asked?
Nope, not one. No one. Mm-hmm.
So it's not the PR department's fault in any way. Just nobody asked the question.
Nobody asked the question. Again, they... In the search for national news, right? And there were more national outlets, so that means fewer questions to the quote-unquote beat reporters, although there were plenty of beat reporters who got questions too, so I'm not letting them off the hook. In our focus on the El Trafico, we forgot to find the details, which were there was questions about Zlatan Ibrahimovic. We talked about that, right? Jonathan Dos Santos was quoted in Spanish saying, "What did he?" And you can't swear, so do the PG version of it.
No, well, it was they were asking about a leader, and the difference between Chicharito and Zlatan, I think, was where it was at. And Jonah responded by saying that if the younger players made a mistake, they knew that Zlatan would literally have a go at them.
Right.
And he mentioned something about things that would happen with your pants.
Like you would poop in your pants.
There
perhaps.
You go.
Yes. There you go.
I didn't want to be. Someone was betting already in chat that I was going to say the S word, and I did not, even when given the opportunity and set up to say it. I did myself proud there.
Let me just tell you that over here in this household, we're up to our elbows in poop. So I am well aware of the poopiness of everything that's going on. But yeah.
But I mean, why is Zlatan? I get Zlatan coming up because it's El Trafico, and let's be honest, he was the guy that put it on the map from a rivalry perspective that intensified over a period of time, right, Josh? I mean, there's no denying that. From his arrival and that wonder goal, the comeback, I mean, all of it, the guy set it up to the point where he really was and still is loathed by LAFC fans.
Yes.
So I get why he came up in the conversation today.
But was that the important angle on the whole thing? I mean, there was lots of Chicharito.
It's the clickbait angle, isn't it? I know.
It's not proper. It's not proper team reporting, right? And that's my criticism, is that if you were covering a team, and listen, everybody has their articles to write, right? Everybody has their angle on how they're trying to cover this, and most of those that got questions have more of a national angle than probably a local angle, right? But if you get the questions to people who cover the team day in, day out, and again, not their fault. I was in and out and couldn't be there. I failed everybody. That's what I said. I failed everybody. Is that, you should still be able to ask those questions. And it's just one of those things. If this was a normal press conference, if this was after training or something like that, the question would have been asked 100%. Because of
Yeah, but also, Josh, so many of those people wouldn't be in that presser, right? I mean,
like
we see the difference.
Like me, I wouldn't have been there either.
The truth is, though, we see the difference when certain games happen and who's present and who isn't. And some of the times those that are always there and can't be present have someone covering for them, or there's, people have lives and they've got lots of things to do. But it's so different once the national media gets involved in a game like this, because their questioning doesn't get into the deep roots of the club, the players, what's going on, because truly they don't really know, they don't.
Can I tell you what is basically unanswered at this point is, can Derek Williams play in this game? He came out at halftime against Seattle with a knock. We know that. Victor Vazquez would have been a question that we would have asked, which was, how is his groin? Do you think he's going to play? Chicharito got his foot stepped on. Now, he talked today, so there's an assumption that he's fine and he'll play. That's the assumption. They usually don't let injured people talk, okay? So that's one of the things. And then Adam Saldana only trained for 1 day last week, and so is he available today? Now, every single one of those players has an effect on what the starting lineup could be come Saturday, and whether or not the LA Galaxy have, quote unquote, the best team available against a very good LAFC team. So those are all pertinent questions that we don't have answers to, and that we're going to be left to guessing about until the lineup comes out on Saturday.
Yeah. Maybe we should phone Vicky.
I did ask the question. I said, "Hey, can you find out?" So we'll see if we get any answers from that. I know she'll do her best to try and find that out. So
but it's true what you say, because as you build up to the game, when you're writing your articles and you have the assessments, you want it to be as close to what you think is going to happen, or the team that the coach is going to pick. And so when that's not clear, it's very difficult to kind of be able to give that total turnkey perspective, right? So. Yeah. I hear you, and you're right. Like LAFC, I know they've had their injury issues too, and they haven't got off to their an insanely positive start, but they still have a lot of unknowns in their team this season, and they're still lethal, going forward. And I know Carlos is. It's going to be a game time decision with him. So we don't quite know, but Diego Rossi will play in that game.
Yeah, he played the last game, so he should be fine to do that. Let's go a little bit to this as well. This goes to the Kevin Cabral thing, and so Kevin Cabral, as I said, he's in Los Angeles. We don't know what his quarantine status is. We don't know if he was fully vaccinated before he came and therefore might have a shorter quarantine, which is a possibility. There's a whole bunch of things that are possibilities, but we don't have the answers to that. But one of the things that has certainly plagued the LA Galaxy in this offseason is the slowness at which the LA Galaxy have brought players in from international duties afar, right? So, Victor Vazquez, that one seemed like it was pretty quick. That wasn't a problem. Jonathan Bond wasn't an issue because he had a U.S. passport, so that was a little faster than most of those. We know that Sam Grandieu, that perhaps he took a little bit longer than normal to eventually get into camp. Remember, he didn't join the team until I think they were in Arizona and got to play a little bit in the last game. So he took a little bit longer. But Paul Kennedy, the great Paul Kennedy, I should say, if you follow things and look at a whole bunch of things, tweeted out this New York Times article, and he says anyone needing immigration matters process, soccer teams, for example, is facing unprecedented delays. In April, 75% of U.S. consulates were totally or partially closed due to COVID lockdowns. Now, I retweeted this and said, yes, LA Galaxy, this means you too, right? This is applicable. This is one of the reasons that it took so long to get Kevin Cabral in, plus a clerical error. Throw a clerical error in there as well, Sophie, and then you have an even longer delay, right? So you have that stuff. And it could lead to a lengthy sort of process to bring in Sega Coulibaly as well, from the same general area, although we don't know if they're using the same consulate, right? Multiple consulates around different countries, so you never know which one exactly they're using. But this is a problem. This has been a problem. We knew it was a problem, but Galaxy fans seem to think that it only affects them, and they can give other examples, but it really is a case-by-case basis, and certainly coming out of France again, unfortunately for Sega Coulibaly after Kevin Cabral, seems like that might be a little bit longer of a process.
Yeah, I mean, is this a COVID issue, or is this just a backlog of immigration issue, or a combination of the two? Because immigration has always been a complete nightmare. I mean, as someone who's been through this entire process.
Wait, you're not from here?
Well, I don't know. Maybe someone will send $5 and we'll find out.
Okay, good.
For you. But, so I totally get it. Now, does that help the team? Not really, because the integration, and then, they haven't even started training yet, let alone, get involved and be part of everything that's going on a day-to-day basis. But the good news is that it's a long season, right?
Right.
So there's going to be moments and times where this is all going to come to fruition. It's just going to be just fine. I think the anticipation of new signings, you want them immediately. You want to know what they can do, what they can deliver, how they're going to, affect the team, be part of the team. But it'll all come out in the wash eventually, and there's going to be plenty of time for these players to have an impact this season.
Yeah, I think so. I'm not overly concerned. Again, it's just 3 games in. We're hopeful that we will see, Sega Coulibaly make it over. We're hopeful that Kevin Cabral can make, maybe perhaps an appearance in the next game after the LAFC game. So that's something to sort of watch and we can keep an eye on. So there's a lot of stuff, I think, to be positive about. There's a lot of things that are still going to happen. And we talked about this on Monday's show. Give this team 5 or 6 weeks, Sophie, and it's going to look like a different team. You're going to get guys like Derek Williams, hopefully 100% back. You're going to get guys maybe perhaps like Sega Coulibaly, who are then starting in defense. You're going to get guys like Kevin Cabral, who then moves Sebastian Lletget back into the center next to Victor Vazquez with Jonathan Dos Santos, and moves Adam Saldana to the bench, perhaps, right? So there's all these things that are going to start happening with that starting lineup as soon as they can get the quote-unquote all of their, starters and everything like that. So
right. And also Greg's going to develop his team over a period of time. He's going to know who's going to work for him and who isn't. And so this team is just at the beginning of the Greg inception. We're nowhere near close to this team being what he wants it to be in his image. And so I think it's just a matter of time before that comes to fruition.
Yeah, absolutely. So anyway, no, we have it's an interesting sort of part to do all this and to sort of to take a look at it. Now, here's a great question that I think came in from the chat, and it's a $5 super chat. And so we'll do our best to give this a good answer. Everything LA Galaxy says, great content. Who do you guys think will be the most important player for the Galaxy on Saturday? Now, for me, that's an interesting question, at least. Because my brain fires off immediately, and I go, well, I know who I would like that to be almost immediately, and he was just on this show. But if he's not available, then where does my mind go? Because I'm not 100. I don't feel confident that Victor Vazquez is going to be available on Saturday right now.
No, is Lletget back?
He is. Lletget will be back for this game.
Okay, so he could have an impact, and he's going to be the type of player that's going to have a say in this kind of game. He's going to have a point to prove. He'll probably have a little bit of a chip on his shoulder as well. I agree with you. Victor's been the most important player for the Galaxy so far this season. He's been just so commanding and confident, and he's added this calmness in midfield to the point where I think Jonah needs to step up. He needs a big game.
Yes.
He needs to start putting in a shift. And I know that he's got some issues. And he
does.
talked about that today, didn't he, in the presser?
He did.
Josh. And it was about the inflammation, but then he talked about mobility as well, didn't he?
Yeah, so that was interesting. Jonah only answered... He only took questions in Spanish. He only answered questions in Spanish. He's breaking my heart every time he does this because
I need to step in because you know what happened last time when he tried to do that.
Yes, and that's the whole. Usually we can persuade him out of it. He speaks wonderful English. I really wish he would do it more. We can't force anybody to do anything. But Jonathan Dos Santos is a voice that I think everybody needs to hear, and he speaks very good English, probably better than I do most of the time. So I'd love to have him. But he was talking about how he has mobility issues in his ankles and that the cramping isn't coming from not eating a banana, all right, and not having his sodium levels where they're supposed to be. It's literally, I guess, like a biomechanical, or the way his body works right now, the way that he is running is causing these cramping issues, right? And so it was really interesting in our Discord. We have some nurses that do a lot of physical therapy and some different things, and somebody was saying, you can actually go to a coach who will teach you how to run differently if that's a problem. But it could be a complication maybe from his hernia surgery. There's a whole bunch of different things that could be leading to this. But the bottom line is it's not as simple as eating a banana before the game. That seems pretty clear.
No, but it's
concerning, right?
It's concerning. This is the type of stuff that over a period of time, wear and tear on a player wears and tears on their heart and soul. And this is where I'm not saying players go into early retirement, but if he can't play at optimal level, I mean, he's got a lot of things that he needs to work on, and these issues don't help that. He hasn't been performing well. He hasn't been as prolific. Yes, he's come back from injury, but I think this is a really important season for Jonah. And in a Greg Vanney team, I think that he could really shine, and he and Victor could be this steel in midfield. But we just haven't. I can't remember the last time he had a really great game. I can't.
It wasn't this season, and it probably wasn't last season because he was injured so much last season. So, I mean, do you have to go back to the 2019 season where he was absolutely one of the reasons the LA Galaxy did as well as they did in 2019, and was earning every bit of his designated player quote unquote DP pay. There was talk so much, and we've so talked about this before, but possibly extending him as a TAM player now comes into question, right? Because if you can't have him as a healthy player, then really it might not help to have him on the team at all, even at a TAM discount.
Do you remember a few seasons ago? I can't remember how long it was, but I said to you, he's a bit overrated for me, and we went back and forth on that, right? I believe there are certain players where their last name kind of makes up for the deficiencies they may have in a season or the lack of performances they have in a season. And Jonah is so likable. He's such a good guy. He's got such a great character,
right,
that when he does well, you root for him when he doesn't and does well. And I think there's nothing more LA Galaxy fans would love this season than to see him shine.
Right.
And it would be great to see him shine, to see Chicharito shine. You got Carlos Vela doing his thing at LAFC. You've got these kind of monster Mexican players who are legacy players. But I think he owes the Galaxy a great season.
Yeah.
And I hope it's this season.
Well, I mean, if he can do it, if he can physically do it right now, because now we're almost talking about the inability to do physical things. And if he can physically do it, then you'd want to see him. And by the way, if he can physically do it, he probably earns himself another contract with the LA Galaxy. I mean, it's I know you would have to sit, but if he can physically do it and there's no problems with it, then you sit there and say, okay, well, he's a TAM player. And maybe you can make him a TAM player. You just let Galaxy get a designated player spot open. That makes a lot of flexibility with the team, and you have a guy who has shown. I'm not saying it's a 5-year contract. I'm saying it's a 1 or 2 year contract, and he gets another contract if he wants it, right? Or if he wants to go to Mexico and play there, he can play in Mexico. Or if he wants to retire, he can retire. He's sort of in that decision thing. If he can physically do it and have the season that you and I both think that, or both hope that he will, really, because he's such an integral part to this. If he plays well, if Victor Vazquez plays well, if Sebastian Lletget plays well, all of a sudden you have a, LA Galaxy midfield that is absolutely capable of being one of the best in Major League Soccer.
Yeah, I think Lletget's a little bit underappreciated. By the way, this is my leather chair making these noises, not me.
Sure it is, yeah.
I think Sebastian's underappreciated, not only for the national team, but sometimes I think in this team. Yes, every player has ups and downs, but I think he never stops working for the team. Like, he never gives up. And I believe that Greg Vanney will gravitate to Lletget a lot and have him become a focal point for him in this particular team. And certain players need to step up this season because it's a totally different coaching regime. And if you're not delivering, you're not going to get picked just because of the name on the back of your shirt. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
And I feel for Jonah because of those injuries. It's a very difficult situation that he's in, because he's also probably putting pressure on himself to get out there and play because of what people like me say.
Yeah. I don't think he listens to us. I'll be honest with you. No.
Well,
he's way too smart. He's way too smart for that.
Maybe Victor could put in a good word.
I'm sure Victor's going to go back and listen to this. That's high on his priority list too. I always think that's funny. It's like, for the most part, I would hope that people don't listen to us, right? I mean, that's like, please, you have better things to do with your professional soccer career than listen to us as it goes.
If they've listened to this while Chicharito would never speak to me ever again after last season, that's for sure.
I was going to say that hey, I've had to, I throw it way back. When I first started this, 2009, maybe in 2010, something like that, Mike Magee got brought in by Bruce Arena. And for whatever reason, everything Mike Magee did, I just hated. I was like, what is this guy doing? Who is this guy? He's horrible. He doesn't deserve to be on this team, blah, blah, blah. I would just rail on Mike Magee over and over and over again. And I'll never forget, he started playing. And then, like, he really started playing well. And then you get into the playoffs and Mike Magee turns into, Mr.
Oh, he's such a great guy as well, though, too.
And
you're dragging on him.
He's amazing, right? And I was dragging him for like a whole season. Just like, this is Bruce needs to get rid of him. What is he on the field for, the whole deal? And Mike is Mike. And obviously, you know what happened and how wrong I was at that particular time. And I remember I ran into him at an event. It was funny, the black and gold LA Galaxy kit, whenever it got released, they released that at the Grammy Museum on the roof of the Grammy Museum in downtown LA. And I went to that unveiling and I ran into Greg Berhalter, and that's where Greg Berhalter told me that he was going to retire at the end of that season. And then I ran into Mike Magee there as well. And I went up to Mike and I'm like, hey, I'm Josh. Blah, blah, blah. I was nobody at the time, so nobody knew who I was. I was just some podcaster who didn't have any access to anything. And I just went up. I'm like, hey, man, I just got to say, I've been railing on you for like a year, and I was wrong. I was wrong. You were right. I was wrong. It was great. Like the whole deal. And he was just like, oh man, I don't care. It's like, yeah, because why would he? He doesn't listen to me. Right.
Yeah,
So, that was the whole thing there. So
No. I think people overestimate thinking that players read everything. They don't.
They can't. They can't.
No.
It would drive you crazy. Can you imagine somebody critiquing you at your job, or like me was, well, Josh did sit at that desk for an extra 10 minutes a day and just pondering, his navel.
You mean you don't sit and reread the live chat after a show?
No. I let that go. The live chat's great during the chat, but after that, no gracias. I'm good. All right. We're getting towards the end of the show. Let's get you to just a couple more things I want to update. Just want to go over the standings one more time real quick before we get any of this. As it stands right now, the LA Galaxy are 5th in the Western Conference. LAFC are 6th in the Western Conference, so they stack right on top of each other. The LA Galaxy have 6 points through 3 games. LAFC have 5 points through 3 games. So that's where we're sitting with the LA Galaxy and where they're going to be for the rest of this week until they play LAFC. So a win here by either team does vault them over the other, and this is quote unquote the 6-point game, and it's an important 6-point game for that as well. So Sophie, before we get into this game, before we dive in, we reached out to our good friend the Hammer, and we said, hey Hammer, we absolutely 100% need to have a game preview from you for El Trafico, and he has obliged us as he normally does once again. So Sophie, if you're ready, I'm ready to let the Hammer take it over for a little bit. Are you good? All right, good. I think you're on mute. You should unmute yourself there. No, yeah, don't worry.
Muted myself because I have the sniffles. I'm getting a bit of a cold, I think. So
Yes.
I was sniffling, and I didn't think I had a hanky.
Yes.
So yeah,
But you got one. I thought you were going to get the dog.
did,
I thought Vinny was going to come out and you're just going to wipe your nose with Vinny.
Well, I would have hoped he would have noticed that Mum was in trouble here
and help you out a little bit. It's like maybe
but
the guy.
I'm always ready for the hammer.
Okay, so if you're ready, I'm ready. So here we go. A little hammer time.
El Trafico is back, baby, and it's time to believe. Do you know what the happiest animal on Earth is? It's a goldfish, because they've got the shortest memory. Be a goldfish, LA Galaxy, and let's get back to winning ways this Saturday at Dignity Health Sports Park against our heated crosstown rivals, LAFC. This season is still very young, and a little adversity may be just what the Galaxy needed last week. An MLS season is a lot like riding a horse. If you're comfortable while you're doing it, you're probably doing it wrong. And speaking of hitching a ride, if you're heading down to the stadium, don't forget that on El Trafico's we wear white. Otherwise, you can't sit with us. Sure, it would have been cool to wear a community kit, but at the same time, there's something a lot worse than wearing white at home. And that's being a chuggy LAFC fan who complains how the black jerseys made them play worse in the heat. Next up is Chicharito. I am once again asking you to bang in some goals in front of the home crowd and in front of a national audience. Show them that football is life. You're the real Mexican superstar, Javier, not some dude who faked an injury so badly that his coach accidentally subbed him off the field. And speaking of putting out the candle, let's get our backline in order. Let's help Jonathan Bond secure a clean sheet for the first time this season. And you may see a Galaxy that's leaking goals, but I smell potential. So let's make sure we come out of this game like my mother's bathing suit, in one piece, because we all know that those bodies are a lot like day-old rice. If they're not warmed up properly, something really bad can happen. So let's go out like Willie Nelson on a high, because I believe in hope, I believe in believe. Let's go, LA Galaxy. Let's show these guys that LA is blue, white, and gold.
All right, there we go. A little hammer time for everybody. I hope everybody enjoyed that. I mean, it's not every day you get a hammer, so that's good.
You're gonna have to do, there's how people get together and they get calendars and stuff like that. I don't know what it is, but you're gonna have to put. I mean, maybe it's an NFT. Maybe the hammer.
He can sell his game previews with NFTs. I want to know how much would you pay for the Hammers? This is a chat room question. How much would you pay for the Hammers pregame? And in particular, this one where he forgot that his mic wasn't connected correctly, and
that was epic.
Yeah, it was always great whenever we put those together. But yeah, I don't know. It's a great idea. We should NFT Hammer.
I mean, we should
himself.
NFT Hammer totally, and maybe put goldfishes in it somehow now, because it's a symbolic animal of COG.
Yes, absolutely, it is. If we could get a little goldfish animation where it looks like we're doing it, did you like too through the green screen? It looked like there was his head was bulging. I couldn't remember if it was happening when he was talking about LAFC, right. But it was there were bulges. Well, his ears also disappear. All right, his ears also, which is always crazy. By the way, Feel the Berm says he'd pay 420 Dogecoin for Hammer. So there you go. Ben says $3.50, so $3.50 Hammer, which by the way I think is overpaying by 50 cents if I'm being honest, Ben. So anyway, so that's where we sit. If you go into this game, it's a historic one, and it has had such a small, short window, Sophie. But Zlatan has been there, Carlos Vela has been there. All the things that you look at, the LA Galaxy, by the way. And every time I look up the stat, because every time we get ready to play LAFC, I'm like, okay, I have to sort of study up. The LA Galaxy are still undefeated at home against LAFC. LAFC has never beaten the LA Galaxy at home. Yeah. That is on the line this weekend whenever they play Saturday. That's important to remember. It's very important. And, at first there was more to it than that, right? Because it was like they could just never find a way to beat LA Galaxy, period. They were able to combat that in that playoff game. That game was ridiculous, by the way. And then, to have that home record, I think is really important. So they're going to want to preserve that. There's going to be some pride to preserve that. And the longer that goes on, the more it gets into LAFC's mental as well. So
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, look, is it too premature to say at this point in the season this game is huge? I think these particular games at home, you've got to win these games.
Yeah.
You just have to.
Yeah, dropping points at home is not a good recipe. So for the LA Galaxy, you want to see them get all 3 points. If they're at home, if they're on the road somewhere, I am more of the opinion you walk out with a point and usually you're in a pretty good situation. If the Galaxy would have walked out with a point against Seattle, I think everybody would be jumping up and down and, already counting their MLS Cup for this
100%.
year if that happened. But I don't expect teams to win on the road. I expect teams to, and even Bruce Arena, we said this on Monday, even Bruce Arena, when he went up to Seattle, Sophie, used to struggle against Seattle. Seattle's a difficult place to play, and so getting a point is fine. But here, against LAFC, again, this game coming up 5 p.m. Pacific time on Fox, FOX Fox, not FS1, not any of those. Channel 11 where I'm at, in case you want to know. So it's on the lower numbers where we're going. So this is over-the-air Fox, Saturday, May 8th is when the game kicks off. Galaxy 2-0-1, Sophie, 2 wins, 1 loss. And by the way, I am abiding by MLS's new, I'm going to screw up the wins, draws, losses things that they're doing, or wins, draws, losses. Yes. And LFC are 1-2-0. So 1 win, 2 draws. They beat Austin at home to start the season. They drew with Seattle 1-1 at home. They drew with Houston 1-1 on the road. So that's been LAFC's mark so far there. And by the way, as a total team, LAFC has scored 4 goals and Chicharito has 5. So
they haven't got off to a good start. They've had some injuries. It's not been, they've not had impact yet. And I think they're finding their feet too. They're going through a transition year a little bit as well. So I think this game is there for LA Galaxy to exploit, especially if Carlos Vela doesn't start. I mean, the guy's so important to that team. He really is. And so is Diego Rossi. And he, even though he's back now, there's an ingredient missing when Vela isn't playing for this squad. And you have to ask yourself, where are the goals going to come from if Vela isn't playing? And I think that's the difference the LA Galaxy have, because I think Leggett could get a goal. You've got Chicharito now who's on form, but they seem to have more options. But we'll see.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Whenever you look at it, I think I went LA Galaxy are 4-3-2 all time. They're undefeated at home against LAFC in 4 matches, 3-1-0. We talked about Carlos Vela being doubtful, or at least a game day decision for Bob Bradley. I don't know that I know Hammer sort of gave Vela a little shtick in his thing where he said, the guy faked an injury so bad that he had his coach sub him. But Vela apparently was very upset that Bob Bradley subbed him, and was so upset now that he hasn't played since then. He's got 22 minutes on the year, and the last time Vela came back against the LA Galaxy, he ended up injuring himself and hurting himself for a little bit longer. So, I mean, if you're LAFC, I don't know that you risk him in this game away on the road. For me, it's not worth it. Just in that. So it'll be interesting to see what they do. I know everybody wants Chicharito and Vela to play against each other, just like they wanted Frank Lampard and Steven Gerrard to play against each other, and they build it Gerrard versus Lampard, and neither of those dudes played. So
no. I mean, one definitely had a better, MLS career.
I was gonna say good use of quotation marks there.
Than the other. I don't think they'll take risks. I mean, they just won't. He's the asset. He's the crown jewel.
Right.
He's the apple of their eye. So, I mean, would there be pressure from broadcasters and sponsors? And yes, everyone feels that, but at the end of the day, if the player isn't fit, he can't play. I mean, it's always the player's fitness comes first. But it would be a shame if Vela isn't playing while the game is on Fox. Yeah. Channel 11 here.
Channel 11 in the COG boudoir here. Here's the crazy stat. So of those 9 meetings, the two teams have combined to score 47 goals, which averages 5.22 goals per game. So this is the problem with trying to predict this game. And I'm telling you right now, I feel good about the LA Galaxy. I like that they're coming off the loss in Seattle. I like that hopefully that gave them a little bit of understanding of the things that they needed to get better at, because LAFC is going to test them in a lot of the ways that I think Seattle did. And so for me, I feel really good about this. But having said that, 47 goals in 9 games, over 5 goals per game, means that you can't predict which way this is going to go.
No, and I've been at a couple of LAFC games because I've covered some stuff for TalkSport, and the Austin did really well. I mean, credit to them, being a brand new team as well. They're a bit weak at the back, and they have some frailties on the flanks as well. You can definitely, with the pace that LA Galaxy has, I think they can expose that. I think this is going to be another high-scoring game. And the other day I was thinking, I don't know why it popped into my head, but I was thinking I fancy like a 4-4. Yeah. Something like that, because both teams have frailties at the back. Yeah. And they have players that can, bang in goals as well.
But you look at LAFC and they've allowed just 2 goals in their first 3 games, whereas the LA Galaxy have allowed 7 goals in their first 3 games. I mean, there's more worries, I think, right now about the LA Galaxy defense, but I agree with you that LAFC...
But with better teams, Josh, LAFC will get punished over a period of time if they carry on. I think they'll find their feet. They'll get better as the season goes on, for sure. But with a better finisher, I think they have that vulnerability. They could leak more goals. I think they've been a bit lucky on that front.
Yeah, I think maybe you're right. Again, a 1-1 draw in Houston is not horrible. Diego Rossi, obviously a very important center, but it's been Corey Baird who's had 2 goals so far this season, who's sort of their goal scoring leader. You have Atuesta. He's the guy that I want to focus on, because if you look at the passing charts, if you look at everything that happens for LAFC, Atuesta is at the center of it all, and I think he's the engine that really keeps LAFC sort of pointed in the right direction for me. Do you think that's fair?
100%. And with Vela and Rossi out in the first game, I mean, he stepped up, and there's something about this player that I think that if he wanted to, he could play in Europe. He's a really good player. He's got a lot of talent. He's fearless, and he believes in himself, and I think sometimes Rossi and Vela get all the plaudits and the credits, but he is integral to this team and helped them tick over, definitely without their key men at the very start of this season. He's impressive, Atuesta. He really is.
Yeah, I can also bring up passing networks and sort of looking at that. And again, number 20 is Atuesta, and just where he is and in the center of everything. And you can see that so far, at least average positions, if you're looking at the chart, it's a very narrow LAFC team, but without Vela sort of stretching out into the wide areas, you would expect that to be the case. So I think if the Galaxy do get some Carlos Vela in this game, that again, what Seattle did in terms of being able to burn around the corners is something that LAFC can do as well. So it's important for the LA Galaxy to sort of keep an eye on everything.
I mean, Vela creates spaces for everybody else when he's playing, because he takes 2 players with him at minimum every single time he gets the ball. So it's a great point, Josh.
Let's see. Sick and Eric Design says we should sign Kevin De Bruyne. Kevin De Bruyne? You want to sign Kevin De Bruyne?
Sure, fine. I'll take him.
Okay, for $5, I'll take. I mean, how much? It's a great idea.
What's a player? I mean, if City win the Champions League, De Bruyne is in for the Ballon d'Or, surely.
And Kevin will sort of be, his head will sort of get bigger. Kevin Baxter, that is, is Man City fan. His Man City blue Mustang.
Goodness gracious, what are we going to do with him if they win the Champions League?
Nothing good, that's for sure. Nothing good.
Nothing good will come of it.
Yeah, absolutely. So we get to this game. We've talked about it. It's tough to predict lineups in this particular case, not knowing injury status for people. If Derek Williams can start, I imagine that he will, and he'll start in that center next to Steres. I think Julian Araujo will be at the right back position. I don't think Greg Vanney is going to really try to venture past that right now. I think that you're going to find Villafaña on the left. We'll take off the easy ones. Jonathan Bond in goals, so they're okay. I've got through some of those. Williams is a question mark. If it's not Williams, it's Depew, and so that's solved and that's over with. Jonathan Dos Santos seems like he's fine. Sebastian Lletget is fine. I want to see what they do. I would really like to see Cameron Dunbar get a start on the left-hand side and put Sam Grancia over on the right-hand side, just so you can put everybody in their proper positions. And so if Vazquez can play, then it's legit Vazquez and Jonathan Dos Santos. If Vazquez can't play, then it's legit Jonathan Dos Santos and Adam Saldana for me, as long as Saldana can play, because he's an injury question that we didn't get an answer on either. So then Grancia on the right, you have Dunbar on the left or the right. You can switch those two, don't care, and Chicharito up top. So that for me is sort of the tree in my head of lineups that I see. Could Greg
I would
Vanney,
agree with that.
could Greg Vanney do something different? Yes, he could. Efrain Alvarez, perhaps, again?
No. I'm a huge Efra fan, but need to take a beat and figure that out a little bit.
Yeah.
Not in this game.
This is a game that whenever the Galaxy first played against LAFC the first time in 2018, the Zlatan game, the 4-3 game, where throughout that entire first half, the LA Galaxy were like 2 steps slow to everything. The speed of the game was too much for most of the guys to handle. I expect that that's going to be similar in this game, that the speed of the game is going to be lightning quick to start this game, with LAFC looking to do what they always do, which is jump on people early.
Even when they have the ball or don't, when they have the ball, they want to shift gears pretty quickly. When they don't have the ball, they want to press and be intense about it, and they're relentless. And so, yes, 100% on both sides of the ball on that front. I think the key to this too is going to be the goalkeepers, because I think there's going to be a lot of opportunities for shots on goal. I think both goalkeepers are going to be key. And you don't really talk about that a lot because everyone's talking about the Chicharito Vela competitiveness and how everyone wants to see that. But I think the goalkeepers are going to play a major part in this game. It's going to be really important for them to be confident, and so we'll see. We'll see. There's going to be a lot of offensiveness in this match.
It's going to be chippy. They're going to be angry. There's going to be
who's going to get a red card?
Oh, usually I'd say that it is on the LAFC side. I believe they've gotten the last red card in this. So away, possibly trying to force the issue, possibly trying to slow things down. Yeah, maybe. We'll see. I don't know. I always feel like there's going to be 13 or 18 yellow cards, but there's never going to be that like red card. But we'll see if what happens. That to me, it's Alan Chapman as the referee. He likes to give out cards. I wouldn't be surprised if somebody gets 2 yellows or a red in this game.
It could get really chippy, for sure. And hopefully it won't be decided on something like that.
No, I don't want a PK. I don't want PKs. No. I don't want any of that. Let's see these two teams play, flat out. And by the way, Joe says, use Zubak as a super sub. Absolutely use him as a super sub. He's the Chicha whisperer. Everybody knows this. He's the one who
Would you use him as a sub, or would you start him in this game too?
You could, right? But I really want to see...
Out of the players you mentioned,
he could start in place of Dunbar. That's where he fits in.
And doesn't he deserve it? I mean, I'm a Dunbar. I like Dunbar. I'm a fan. Right. I hope he gets more chances this season. But Zubak has been. He's not a 90-minute guy. One, that's for me. That's why I wouldn't. Okay. And 2 is he's a change of pace when he comes in, right? I like him with fresh legs against tired people than I do fresh legs against fresh legs. So for me, absolutely bring him in the second half. Yeah, make that sub early, though, if that's going to be the situation. Give him
60?
enough time to settle into it. 100%. Yeah.
Yeah, give him 30 minutes where he gets to, ball out. And by the way, whenever he comes on, a lot of times that does precipitate, an adjustment into a 4-4-2 as well. So that changes the shape of the LA Galaxy whenever you do that. So that's a way to change things. The one thing that I will say throughout Seattle, throughout New York, and throughout Miami is Greg is proactive, right? He's usually not reacting to something else somebody is doing. Now, against Seattle, that cost him, right? Because he tried to be proactive with a change. He tried to do some things and it didn't work. But he at least was like, we're gonna fix this at halftime, and then he switched things, and the Galaxy were much better coming out of the second half. Yeah. So he lose that. So I expect Greg will use all 5 subs, or at least 4 of them. I expect that the Galaxy will have a good idea of how they want to play. They're going to try to keep the ball as much as possible, which is good. Try to keep it away from LAFC. LAFC is probably going to do the same thing to them, which is try to keep the ball away. So I imagine this possession battle ends up being right around 50-50, and it should be. I think it's going to be a good game. And all things being said, I think this is going to be a good game.
Yeah. Araujo's got to keep his discipline in this game because last season he was a bit of a hothead. He's not really been off to a good start this season. It's been a bit disappointing from him. So I'm expecting big things from him in this game. These are the games where certain players come of age, and have the ability to also become cult heroes, right, in a big derby like this. But he needs to kind of get into the season. He's been lackluster for me.
Yeah. And
he was played more forward, right, against Seattle, and that wasn't his fault. And I've liked him in those positions before, Josh.
I didn't have any problems. I know lots of people told me how he played horrible against Seattle, and I thought he was one of the better showings in the first half because he was trying to press that back line, right? We talk so much, and Arquitecto Verbal said it. Says you have to play a 4-4-2 because you want to make sure that you pull somebody off the Chicharito off that back line. Agreed, but you don't need to do a 4-4-2 in order to do that. Zubac proved that, and somebody like Araujo or Grancieux needs to get in behind the back line of LAFC. That pulls marks away. So you don't have to be in a 4-4-2 to create the opportunities that you need for, like in a 4-4-2. But for me, I really want to see some penetration behind that line because that is the biggest key to opening up space for Chicharito to operate, for guys like Victor Vazquez, Sebastian Lletget, the cutback pass, get to the lines, get in behind, and make them make saves, put balls on the net, look for rebounds.
They've got to get balls into the 6-yard box, right? I mean, one of my favorite goal that Chicharito actually scored against Inter Miami was the one that came into the box, the deft touch, old school style. Bosch bangs it in. It was with his left foot he scored that one, right? When he did he touch it with his right and score it with his left? I can't remember. But it was a really beautiful touch and a first time, a touch and then a finish.
Right.
And you've got to get balls to him in that area. It's so important. And I think against this LAFC team that hasn't hit the ground running just yet, this is the 3 points to get off them because they are going to improve, as I said, as the season goes.
All right. I think we've rambled on enough for tonight. I'll get your score prediction, Sophie. LAFC heading to LA Galaxy at Dignity Health Sports Park on Saturday, 5 p.m. kickoff on Fox. By the way, I would expect that that's closer to 5:30, just so everybody can chill out with that a little bit. So that's my guess.
Well, look, Southern California is going to serve up a soccer dish for the country.
Yes.
It is going to be quite the game, and I fancy a lot of goals. And I'm going to stick with my 4-4. Yep.
That's a lot of goals.
It's a lot of goals, yeah. I think it's going to be that kind of game.
I think if you go back in the history of this game, I don't know that I've ever picked the LA Galaxy to win any of them. And it makes me sort of hesitate for a second, knowing that I'm pretty sure that's the case. Maybe the first one I was like, oh yeah, LAFC isn't that good and blah, 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 the whole deal. And I ended up being right on that one game. For me, this feels like an LA Galaxy win. I don't know that it'll be as dramatic as it was. I don't know if I expect Carlos Vela to play. I don't know if Chicharito scores goals or how it works. In my mind, though, I feel like the confidence, the momentum is still with the LA Galaxy here, playing at home against a rival. So I have to say the LA Galaxy win this in a 3-2, 3-1 fashion. Maybe they get it nice and comfortable and just run away. Greg Vanney talked about possibly the best thing that he wants is a clean sheet against LAFC. And I think that's asking a lot. That's a wonderful thing to be a goal, Sophie. It's absolutely something.
That's not going to happen.
That's not going to happen. No.
Not yet. See. I mean, I think that's something Greg will improve as the season goes, but that's not going to happen right now.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll see how it goes out. But yeah, I'm going to say LA Galaxy win. You say draw. I'm sure we'll see how that all goes. We'll invite you back on eventually, and then you can say that you were right or you were wrong, or
exactly.
It'll be all those things. There'll be enough time for you to shift it away from it for sure. Hammer's already mad that you got the LAFC game, so he's coming for you.
I feel bad. I feel bad about this.
Don't worry about it. It's not a problem. All right, Sophie, is there anything else you want to get to before we get out of here? We good?
No, all good. Everything good. Thanks for having me, Josh. Epic as always.
All right, tell people where they can find you, and we will, of course, go follow you there. So go for it.
Yeah, on the Twitter sphere, I'm at Soccer Diva, and then also the show at Highbury Squad across all platforms. If you love a little Premier League and football talk, come join us, hang out, join the conversation in our football democracy. Thank you for having me, Josh. You rock.
Awesome, Sophie. Thank you so much. All right, if you're looking for me on Twitter, it's at JGuesman, JGUESMAN, and of course at Galaxy Podcast, cornerofthegalaxy.com, video, articles, all that fun stuff right there for you to find, cornerofthegalaxy.com. You can go to our shop, cornerofthegalaxy.com, click on the shop button. You can get some stickers and stuff. We'll send them out to you. We appreciate the support as always. All right, that does it for Miss Sophie, the Cannon Nicolaou. I'm Josh Pato Guesman, and you've been listening. You've been watching Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. Good luck at Trafico this weekend, everybody.
You've been listening to the Corner of the Galaxy podcast on cornerofthegalaxy.com. You can follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Galaxy Podcast, and be sure to check out and subscribe to iTunes, Stitcher, and Facebook by searching for Corner of the Galaxy. Fans, we thank you for listening, and we ask that you be kind and courteous to your neighbors as you leave the podcast. We thank you for joining us and look forward to seeing you again. Until then, I'm Michael Araujo, and on behalf of the entire Corner of the Galaxy crew, goodbye, everybody.